The Minister of Electricity, Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, has met with the Johannesburg Stock Exchange today. The transmission financing seminar with the JSE is said to be part of galvanizing discussions about the financing of South Africa's transmission development plan, which seeks to expand, support and secure the sustainability of South Africa's energy mix and electricity supply. My colleague, fellow eNCA and reporter Heidi Giokos was at the seminar at the JSE. She's joining us now live from the JSE here in Sandton, just as the markets are closing. And that meeting between the minister and other officials, business guys, happening behind closed doors now. But the seminar is over, Heidi. Good afternoon, Heidi. So, what did the minister actually say? What has been said about this interaction today at the JSE?
It would have been great, Bradan, for the media to have access to that seminar, given the many stakeholders that were participating and having a further discussion in terms of the transmission parts of Eskom. But unfortunately, that was closed off to the media, and we were only allowed to engage with the minister just after 4 o'clock, where he came out to basically explain that there are fruitful conversations with a number of stakeholders looking at the modelling, the legislation, the policy around how exactly the transmission distribution is going to work. We do know that Eskom is, of course, dividing into three, if I can call it that, so transmission, generation, and they want to look at how they can best capitalize on the transmission parts of Eskom. This is going to further increase, for example, megawatts onto the grid. It's going to further increase generation capacity, but there are some issues around policy and legislation which obviously need to be looked at, how they can work around this. But the question that I asked the minister was, what does this actually mean for South Africans? Somebody watching this and going, you know, what does this transmission infrastructure development seminar really entail, and how is it going to better the electricity generation, the electricity grid in this country? Is it going to see the end of load shedding for us? The minister saying, of course, that needs to be clarified, that once they are able to stabilize transmission and once they are able to further increase generation capacity, this is going to have significant impact on the stages of load shedding. It's all part of their energy plan, if I can call it that. The issue here isn't funding, because I asked the question around private sector. It's being held at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. We do know that a number of private sector investments could come into this whole plan. The minister saying money and funding is definitely not a challenge or a problem, where you have many people wanting to invest, many people wanting to solve the problem of our energy crisis in this country. Again, it's more the issue around policy and legislation that they have to work around. They also have to consider the environment, Bradan, and really try and limit the carbon footprint. And that is, of course, a discussion that needs to include, for example, the Department of Environment as well, which the minister did clarify that the minister has been part of these discussions, but it's all about how they can better transmission and how that entity is going to work. Let's listen to what some of the minister had to, what part of what the minister had to say to us after that seminar.
Although you have a constrained balance sheet at Eskom, and also the sovereign matrix has deteriorated, but there's value in the state. There's continued to take the lead in making those investments, and then there's a hybrid around the blended financing. Some of the DFIs that were here were making the point that upstream of the project development, they can make investment on project preparation, so that there's an appreciation by the commercial banks, because once you do that, you begin to de-risk the project, and then there could be greater appetite from the commercial banks. And of course, the institutional investors, they make the point that they are only going to come on board just downstream. So once the risk has been allocated, they've got confidence on essentially who's the jockey, who's the person behind the project, so they're prepared to participate there. Others were raising the issues around the counterparty, that they essentially don't even need a sovereign guarantee on the basis, on the back of the off-taker, and given their balance sheet, you'll be able to raise money.
Yeah, as you said, it's not really about lack of money or funding. I mean, even internationally, there's been lots of commitment being made by the likes of Goldman Sachs. There's funds, Heidi, left, right, and centre that are available. It will be very interesting what will be the real tangible outcome of that seminar that's happening there, the JSE, and currently the meeting is ongoing. But you did ask the minister, we took that media briefing live a short while ago. You did ask the minister about some of the current aspects. Yes, Eskom is being unbundled to generation, transmission and distribution, but we're still being load-shed, Heidi.
Yes, we are, unfortunately, and I don't think that's going to end anytime soon, despite the plan of Eskom being unbundled into those three entities. But there are plans in place, and unfortunately it's going to take some time for us to see the end of load shedding and for our lights to be permanently on. I actually tweeted this morning, Bradan, I think it was quite a cheeky tweet, but it's the reality of South Africans. If you don't have electricity, you have water. If you have electricity, you don't have water. And that's the reality of many South Africans at the moment. And I asked the question to the minister to say, what does our grid look like for the next couple of days? We know he has his briefing every Sunday where he gives an update. He's really banking on the 3 units coming up from Kusile Power Station. That's really going to significantly drop our load shedding levels. Each unit possibly provides just under 1,000 megawatts. We know 1,000 megawatts is one stage of load shedding, so that means we could see a drop of about 3 stages of load shedding once Kusile is up and running in terms of those 3 units, which could only possibly be by the end of December, even later next year. But the minister says for now everything looks really good. It is stable. I did get an indication that we'll probably stay between stages 1 to 3 for the next couple of days. But all of this is touch and go, because you can have this conversation now and in the next hour you'll see a statement from Eskom saying, unfortunately, due to generating units having failed or whatever the case might be, we pushed up to stage 4, 5, sometimes even 6. So I think South Africans must just appreciate for now what we have, even though that should not be the case. We should not celebrate any lower stages of load shedding. We should celebrate when load shedding is completely done away with. But it seems as though for now it will be between stages 1, 2 and 3, according to the minister.
Heidi Giokos at the JSE in Sandton, Johannesburg. Thank you very much for that update.